Hello there, and welcome to Let's Talk Criterion, your regular magazine of the movies, looking at new and forthcoming releases in the collection. And our final scheduled edition for the year looks at the film version of the Broadway show from David Byrne. That's American Utopia, coming to the collection on 4K UHD. Many Criterion collectors are familiar with the term a Spike Lee joint. As a dramatic filmmaker and documentarian, Spike Lee regularly confronts the uglier side of humanity and race in America, albeit with the most engaging and hopeful style imaginable. Think of Do the Right Thing, Bamboozled, or Black Klansman, and you think of challenging subjects portrayed with vibrant aesthetics. Now, Spike Lee collaborated with Talking Heads leading man David Byrne in 2020 to film his successful Broadway show called American Utopia. Now, David Byrne is already synonymous with creative concert presentations, with his earlier work Stop Making Sense. Now, that concert film was directed by Jonathan Demme from 1984, and it recently got a 4K UHD release from A24. Of course, the band has changed over the years, with musicians coming and going, but David Byrne is the epitome of eclectic, with his film from 1986, which is in the Criterion collection, entitled True Stories. Now, this is where the Talking Heads frontman plays a visitor to Virgil, Texas, who introduces us to the citizens of the town during preparations for its celebration of specialness, and it has a superb soundtrack to accompany it. Now, David Byrne has been making music for many decades now, and American Utopia sees that originality come to the fore in a screenplay devised by Byrne and directed by Spike Lee. Now, it's a live film recording of a Broadway performance of the show, which was adapted from the touring show, which supported the album of the same name. Now, the film had its world premiere at the 2020 Toronto International Film Festival, and there it received much critical acclaim. And it was also broadcast on the US streaming service HBO Max in October of 2020. And Dogwoof released the film on Blu-ray here in the UK and in Europe. And now Criterion is taking it to 4K quality for its US release. Now, from the outset, it's obvious that American Utopia will not be your average concert film. Byrne and his band of 11 performers appear on a square stage, and they're surrounded on three sides by thin, tinsel-like chains. Now, each musician wears the same grey, sharply tailored suit and appears barefoot on the empty stage. Each are carrying their instrument, whether it be a traditional electric guitar on a strap or indeed a body-mounted percussive apparatus. Now, most of the various drums require no chords, whereas everything electric uses remote technology, and that frees each musician to dance in elaborately staged choreography. The musicians regularly step behind the chains when not needed or to exchange their instruments. All the while, Tendai Kumba and Chris Guillermo serve as dancers and backup vocalists, although everyone sings, and they almost steal the show from David Byrne with their dazzling movements and expressive faces. Overall, the dance feels organised yet also spontaneous, with Busby Berkeley synchronisation and the freedom of improvisational movement. The result feels more like a living installation art than a concert. It's a blend of dance, music, performance, and socially conscious messaging. Now, it's not the first time that Byrne has redefined the concert film. As I've already mentioned, in 1984, Byrne's band Talking Heads released what is arguably the finest of its kind ever made, and that is Stop Making Sense. Like much of the band's output at that particular time, the film itself was a declaration of individuality through surreal lyrics and performance, rallying against an increasingly conformist Reagan-era America. Using some of the same songs, American Utopia reaffirms those ideals. But rather than a statement about individuality, it asks that we look at other people, not the surfaces or objects that would otherwise define them. Both films hope to define the world by prompting questions about who we are and why we do things we do. Only when we begin this dialogue with ourselves and others can we confront what is wrong with the world and correct it. Now, David Byrne arrives at this theme both when he addresses the audience and, of course, with his selection of songs. Now, half of them come from older solo and Talking Heads albums, and the other half from American Utopia. Now, what's strange and also brilliant about this theme is how Byrne repurposes classic songs, for instance, like Blind and Slippery People and Burning Down the House, with a new context, imbuing them with newfound relevance. Now, the show's energetic mood has been seen as optimistic, but there's a deep well of cynicism here too. Perhaps that's why Spike Lee was attracted to this project. Byrne's choice of songs characterise American culture today, whether it's the empty consumption of television, the great suicidal reflector with I Should Watch TV from Love This Giant, or our collective identity crisis with Once in a Lifetime from Remain in Light album. Between songs, Byrne addresses the audience to talk about issues of the day, such as poor voter turnouts. And he also alternates moods between expressions of creative freedom, like with I Dance Like This, to lamentations about gun violence in Bullet. Now, Spike Lee's visual treatment captures the choreography from a bird's eye view, up close and personal, or in expressive flourishes. Playfully, he tilts the frame at one point to suggest a relationship between the camera and the stage's stability, as if rocking the boat. And elsewhere in the film, he accents the show's lighting with a low angle to emphasise a high shadow, or stark cutting to augment a strobe sequence. Now, his signature peaks with Byrne's cover of a Janelle Monáe song, Hell You Tambut. Although Byrne provides the lead vocals on most songs, that's aside from I Zimbra. The entire group sings in unison for Monáe's searing, simple method of naming African American victims of racial violence, most of them at the hands of police. Names from Emmett Till to Eric Garner to Trayvon Martin are accompanied by a sudden break from the show, and Spike Lee cuts to an image of the victim held by a family member wherever possible, and is accompanied by red titles that list their name, their date of birth, and their date of death. It's a very sobering moment in the film when Spike Lee fills the screen with dozens of names and too many more. And after breaking us down, American Utopia leaves the viewer with qualified poignancy, transitioning into the hopeful song One Fine Day. Now, Spike Lee shot the film at the Hudson Theatre, and he used a small contingent of camera operators overseen by the director of photography, that's Ellen Kuras. It's an intimate venue, this particular venue, with a capacity of 970 seats. Now, the Madison show was equally close-quartered. For much of the performance, both the audience and camera operators remain unseen, and Spike Lee keeps his camera pointed at David Byrne and the rest of the company, finding unique ways to frame the ever-moving group. But then, there's a sequence during the final song, Road to Nowhere, from Little Creatures album, where Lee breaks this pattern, and Byrne and his crew march right into the crowd, and the formality of the stage show gives way to a joyous communal dance. At the same time, the camera operators cannot help but catch glimpses of one another, some with massive cameras mounted on their shoulders, and some with handheld devices no larger than a smartphone. This creative spectacle comes to the collection as 2 discs. That's a 4K UHD with a 4K digital master supervised by the director of photography Ellen Kuras, with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack, and a separate Blu-ray with the film and these special features. A new documentary featuring Kuras, musician-producer David Byrne, dancer-vocalist Tendai Kumba, director Spike Lee, choreographer and musical stager Annie B. Parson, lighting designer Rob Sinclair, and bassist Bobby Wooten III. Conversation from 2020 between Lee and Byrne. A trailer. And of course we have an essay, and that's written by the critic K. Austin Collins, and we have an appreciation by the critic Gia Tolentino. And the cover art is based on a collage by Annie B. Parson. American Utopia has a running time of 106 minutes and comes in an aspect ratio of 1:5:1 and comes to the collection in the US only as a 4K Blu-ray combo on Tuesday the 16th of December as Spine 1294. And I thoroughly recommend that you take a look at this film. It's absolutely superb. Well, that's it for the scheduled releases for 2025. All that remains for me is to say thank you for watching the channel throughout the year, and to my existing and my new subscribers. I wish you all a happy Christmas, and look out for our Films of the Year special edition, which is coming around the Christmas holiday. So until then, from me, as always, it's goodbye, and above all, good seasonal Criterion viewing.